on this earlier phase was just enormous and clearly not well articulated. And so it is truly a remarkable thing to see these kinds of, finally, the articulation of these earlier periods.
Well, I think that raises an interesting point of the problems with all of these studies cutting across them is that the cities that are the most interesting are the ones that continue on. And when cities continue on, people inconveniently build things on top of the things we might want to know. So in Corey's case, Tunis is still a city. It makes it difficult to understand the transition in Tunis. Joanna's digging literally underneath the Capitolia of Altiboros. The Tunisians don't really want to take it down. They see the full house plan. At Garaman as well, the same thing. These cities continue on, and it gives us sort of difficulty in trying to understand these transitions.
I'm going to throw in, I mean, appreciating enormously Joan and David's presentations, I'm going to throw in a question, which I know David has been recently answering, but whether, when we can talk about urban and how you're using urban. I mean, I think you could just as easily look at this very dense settled landscape, about which, you know, there's no doubt, as a landscape of villages without the sort of differentiation, either monumentally or in terms of craft or whatever, that you'd expect in an urban context.
Well, I think my final slide that allowed me, I think I was very cleverly censored. I had 4 slides that all disappeared somewhere in the system, and they obviously didn't want me to overrun by a second. But ultimately, you know, what we do see emerge, my final slide that you saw said pathways to urbanism, and that's what I want to stress, is if Phoenicians, Greeks and Romans don't turn up on the Mediterranean shore, there are pathways towards urbanisation that are already underway that are going to produce something, and that because of that, I mean, those indigenous pathways also feed into the types of sites that actually emerge. You know, we get Phoenician and Roman influences in the cities, but it's an amalgam in the end that we get. And I think, you know, so far we've really focused on the elements of that urban plan that, you know, are or the monuments that are characteristic of the external, and we just have neglected to try and tease out more sense of, you know, that sort of indigenous contribution into the urban plan. And I think you know, again, my final comment, if I have my models, is that we need a new agenda of study that takes out the colonialist discourse that is under